your mouth finish my stuff. How are they, Nana? I've done no job. It's a long time ago. All good men and women try to forget. They have... What happened was taken away. Do people hear from them? How are they? They have forgotten. I woke up screaming hot. My body boiling and steaming from a big woman. And from my inside were huge holes out of it all down.
Let's give Mama Mojuku a big round of applause. Thank you for your performance. We really did appreciate it. Now let's get started.
Africa Day in 2023 at Parliament. Can we just clap for that? We're in 2023. So what a day to celebrate. So as per tikanga, we will officially open this hui with a Karakia, so please feel free to join. Kia ora everyone. So kia tau ngā manahitanga a te mai ngaro. Ki runga ki tene o tātou. Kia mahia, kia poe, makihi ki hi. Kia tau te kupu, tō te mana, tō te aroha, tō te reo Māori. Kia tūturu, kia whakamoi, tina, hui e, tai e. So let the strength and the life force of our ancestors be with each and every one of us, freeing our path from obstruction, so that our words, spiritual power, love and language is upheld, permanently fixed, established and understood. Forward it together. So kia ora tātou, te whakapaparanga mai Africa, ko te awa kairangi noho, ko Rwanda te kaina whenua tupu, ko Mary toku mama, ko Amo toku papa, ko Giselle Irakunda toku ingoa. Tēnā tātou katoa. So, kia ora everyone. So my name is Giselle. I live in Awakairangi in the Hutt Valley. I am from Rwanda. I papa back to Africa. Awesome to see beautiful faces, and I will be co-emceeing beautiful.
Hello everyone, I'm going to spice things up a bit now. Well, thank you Giselle for doing the tikanga and officially opening the celebration. But my name is Glodie Biladi, and I'm from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the best country in Africa. So as you all know, we're here to celebrate Africa. Can you say it with me? Africa? The greatest continent of all time. So I'd like to say Jambo to all my people who speak Swahili. Assalamu alaikum to all those. I also like to say Salvana to my South Africans. Yay! I'd like to say Bote to my Congolese people. I'd like to say bonjour to those who speak French. Shani to my Zambians. Yay! And Muruwai to my beautiful Zimbabweans. Is no one here? Wonderful. So I'd like to actually celebrate you all because some of you actually traveled to get here. I was on the plane, like praying. There was turbulence. Apparently, there was no turbulence, but it was it was very scary for me to get here. I'm all the way from Auckland, so I'd like to celebrate all my Aucklanders out there. All my Wellingtonians in the house, even though you traveled to get here. All my Hamiltonians in the house? Those from Christchurch? But just give a big round of applause to yourselves for making it here tonight, because you could have all done something, but you decided to come and celebrate Africa. So big round of applause to you guys today. And yes, we can come and see with this amazing, beautiful lady, Giselle.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Greetings in all the African languages. I don't want to single out one language because we have thousands of languages. So can I first acknowledge all of you for being here with us today to celebrate Africa Day 2023. I'm going to start with some acknowledgements. We have some members of parliament here. I've seen Teresa Ngobi, I've seen Maya Lubek, Danushi Walters, any other MPs? I want to acknowledge some diplomatic corps here with us today, the Egyptian ambassador, Her Excellency Dina Tsehi, South African High Commissioner, Mr. Edgar. I don't know if we have any other dignitaries, New Zealand Police. Rakesh, where are you? Rakesh Naidu, can you stand up? Oh, Rakesh just been honored. He's been one of those honored this week by the King. So for all the work that he does for the region, all the ethnic communities, thank you so much, Rakesh, for what you do. On behalf of the African Communities Council of Wellington and our ethnic caucus as well, I want to welcome you here to celebrate Africa Day 2023. It's an occasion that fills our hearts with pride, unity, and the hope for the future of our beloved continent. It's a day when we reflect upon our shared heritage, knowledge, our achievements, and recommit ourselves to the pursuit of progress, peace, and unity. This year marks 60 years since an advancement of the first establishment of African unity on May 25, 1963. 60 years ago, 32 heads of independent African states met in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to sign the charter creating Africa's first post-independence continental institution, the Organization of African Unity. I want to go back to the acknowledgement. Actually, my good friend and the first African consul in Aotearoa, New Zealand, Nuruddin Abdurrahman. How can I forget you? Stand up. If you could just give him a round of applause. Here at our African Parliament, and we have the Deputy Mayor, Lori Fun, Samuel Pavan, and acknowledge you, Lori. Thanks for coming. Then I'll go back to my speech. It's been a tough week in Parliament, so. The Organization of African Unity. It was a manifestation of Pan-African vision for Africa that would unite, free of any control, in control of its own destiny, and recognize that freedom, equality, justice, dignity were essential for its achievement. Africa, the cradle of civilization, has given birth to remarkable achievements that have been shaped the human life today as we see it. From the ancient wonders of Egypt to the vibrant culture of West Africa to the natural wonders that adorn our landscape, our continent boasts an abundance of treasures that capture the imagination of people around the world. Africa Day is a testament to the resilience, determination of our people. We have overcome numerous challenges throughout our history, from colonialism to apartheid, from civil wars to poverty, but through it all, we have shown the world that we possess an underlying spirit and an indomitable strength and unwavering belief in our potential and the potential of our people. Today, we stand at a crucial juncture in our collective journey. The world is changing rapidly, and Africa has a vital role to play in shaping its course. We have witnessed significant advancements across various sectors in Africa. It's growing and attracting investments and a partnership that will hopefully empower its people and drive its sustainable development. Yet we cannot rest. We must seize the moment and build upon the progress that we have made. Africa Day reminds us that the work that lies ahead of us. It's all to action, urging us to redouble our efforts to address the remaining challenges we face. And education remains cornerstone of our development. We must invest in our youth, provide them with quality education, and equip them with skills necessary to navigate the complexities of our modern world. By empowering our young people's minds, we unlock their potential to become the future leaders, innovators, and change makers that the world needs today. Inclusivity and gender equality must be at the forefront of our agenda. Africa has an incredible world of strong and resilient women who have made significant contributions to our communities. Yet their full potential remains untapped. We must break down barriers, challenge traditional norms, and provide equal opportunity for women to lead and participate in all shapes of life. Lastly, Africa Day is an occasion for us to celebrate our diversity. Our continent is a tapestry of cultures, languages, and traditions that enrich our collective identity. Let us embrace our diversity and use it all as a source of strength, unity, and inspiration. By recognizing and respecting the unique contributions each of our nation and the communities, we can forge a shared destiny that transcends borders and unite us in all quest for a bright future. On this day, let us reaffirm our commitment to an Africa that is free from poverty, conflict, and inequality. Let us draw upon our resilience and the spirit of our ancestors as we march forward hand in hand towards a future of peace, progress, and shared prosperity. African Kiwis, I specifically want to talk to you today because as the contribution that we make in New Zealand, the beautiful places is enormous, but yet it's not recognized. Look at tonight, the colors, the beauty in this space is a testimony to that. I was in Africa in October visiting Ethiopia and Rwanda for Congress and parliamentary work, and I got to engage with a lot of NGOs in the African Union, and you can see the bright side of Africa, but also you can see the dark side of it as well. Conflict, the impact of climate change, the drought that's hit East Africa in the last 5 years, exposing millions of people to poverty was scary. And then you can also see a lot of innovations, a lot of developments, a lot of progress being made. So what I could see was that the huge inequality between the two extremes. As we live here in New Zealand and we call New Zealand home, we have a role to play. And African-New Zealand development, relationship is growing, it's in progress. But I feel like as Africans, we're not doing our fair share. Every time I speak to INFAT, they tell me that all I can get from INFAT is an excuse. And because in 54 countries, there's only 3 embassies throughout Africa. This is a continent that's a feature, it's full of bright minds, and it's a growing continent, but yet we're not putting enough efforts and focus. So each and one of us as Africans, we have the role to play in terms of promoting Africa, in terms of pushing New Zealand government also to open up to Africa, because Africa is not just about aid. Africa is not about poverty. Africa is not only about conflicts. Africa is much more than that. Actually, New Zealand has a lot to benefit from Africa. It's not just the other way around. So tonight, here today, I want to urge you, join me to push these boundaries together as a country so we can open up to Africa. So none of African nations today is a visa waiver country. And why? Why is it a country like South Africa is not a visa waiver country? It's the question that I always ask myself, I don't get answers for. That's a question that we can answer collectively, not just South Africa, but the whole Africa. So thank you all for coming. Again, welcome to Parliament, actually, your space, your house. And it's good to see you all, and I look forward to celebrate the rest of this afternoon with you. Again, and happy Africa Day 2023. Norera, Atena Koto.
I would like to now address the issue of who exactly does the AFCFTA benefit and how. The AFCFTA is not for governments. It's negotiated by governments, but it is for the private sector. And in particular, it is for small medium enterprises and young entrepreneurs. As you know, 450 million jobs are created in the small medium enterprises sector in Africa. This small medium enterprise sector in Africa is one of the largest drivers and motive forces of Africa's economic activity. And so it is absolutely critical that as we implement the AFCFTA, we do so in a way in which small medium enterprises and young entrepreneurs will benefit. We have introduced what we call the Guided Trade Initiative, which is an initiative intended to assist countries who have ratified the AFCFTA and to assist small medium enterprises to know how to trade under AFCFTA preferences and under the rules of the AFCFTA. So for example, last year there were smallholder farmers of tea from Kenya who exported tea to Ghana. We worked with the government of Kenya as well as the government of Ghana and the exporters themselves, the farmers themselves, to build capacity for them to understand how they can trade across regions of the continent, and more importantly, how they can effectively make use of the benefits that the AFCFTA offers them. So this is what the Guided Trade Initiative is about. Last year, 7 countries participated in the Guided Trade Initiative, with small medium enterprises being part of that initiative, as I just mentioned in the example of the exports of the tea from Kenya to Ghana, to demonstrate the benefit of the AFCFTA. Exporters from Ghana exported to Cameroon ceramic tiles. The importer received a 20% duty reduction. That means that that importer, that company, is now able to be 20% more competitive in the market for ceramic tiles. It means that they can compete against tiles that are manufactured in other parts of the world. So this is a demonstration of the benefits, the preferential treatment that we provide to one another in the AFCFTA market, and we used the Guided Trade Initiative to showcase these examples of the benefits of the AFCFTA. There are, of course, challenges also, and that's why we started this initiative. It's not easy to understand how to export from your country, your region, to another part, another region of the African continent. And so we are meeting this challenge by working very closely with the governments, with the exporters, to really ensure that they understand the rules of the AFCFTA, the customs procedures, the transit procedures. All of these practical elements are very, very important for an exporter to understand so that they can see the benefits of the AFCFTA.
Awesome, kia ora. So the speaker outlined some of the rules of engagement around.
Dina O'Rourke, our safeties. If you could please come up
Well, I will just steal something from the very first MC of today, and another part of our beloved Ibrahim Omer, because otherwise I would have nothing left in my speech. So Yeah, so مساء الخير, Jambo, Molo, Allo, hello, bonsoir, hola, and good evening and kia ora. Let me first thank MP Ibrahim Omer to host us all here today at the Parliament, and the African community that put all the effort to make us get together here today. As we mark 16 years since the foundation of the Organization of African Unity, now known as African Union, when leaders of 32 African countries came together and gathered in Ethiopia with one goal in mind: the emancipation of Africa. Now, the AU embraces 55 member states, after all countries gained their independence and freedom. After earning some hard-won victories that our founding fathers fought for, mainly the elimination of colonization, colonialism, racism, racial discrimination, and apartheid in Africa, our continent found itself in front of new challenges. The economic integration to be a united player on the global arena is one of them. Acknowledging that there is a lot to be done on this front, 54 countries started a roadmap and agreed on an African continental free trade area. To implement this vision, the continent needs a network of roads, ports, connected airports, and this is another challenge we are working on. And the Egyptian president was chosen as African champion to reconstruction and development to achieve this goal. We can't forget the climate change and all its consequences, from floods to drought, immigration, and displacement of our fellow Africans. Egypt, while hosting COP27 last November, was talking on behalf of all the continent and succeeded to have a breakthrough with financing loss and damage and approving the just transition for the continent. The third thing, without silencing the guns in the continent, so our people can enjoy their basic rights to live in peace and prosper, there will be no achievement. On top of those challenges, the last 3 years exposed Africa and the whole world to new challenges with the COVID pandemic and its implications on development and growth, to the war in Ukraine and its repercussions on food insecurity and energy crisis. Those two variables pushed not only the continent, but the whole world to its edge with crisis, cost of living crisis that we witness here in New Zealand, inflation, and many economies, including the big ones, going into recession. But we are in Africa, and we are all hope. This year, the African theme, the African Union declared the theme of the year for 23, Our Africa, Our Future. To get to the Africa we all aspire for, there is no better time for our continent to come together and push forward to create the Africa we want than today, with too much hope. As Africans here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, with all the faculty, the respect, and aroha we have to our mainland, we have to play a role. The Africa we want is a collective responsibility. We can contribute to Africa's growth and transformation, while at the same time preserving Africa's cultural heritage. It was really heartwarming to see our African communities celebrating Africa Day on the 26th instead of the 25th of May in Auckland, in Christchurch, in Wellington, and seeing the whole family dancing on African beats, eating African food, and celebrating their identity. I want here to take the opportunity to acknowledge the great effort done by the African communities in those, specifically in those three, in Auckland, Christchurch, and Wellington, to mark Africa Day, to showcase our rich culture with its diversification to New Zealanders. But most and foremost, let our children reconnect with their roots in the homeland and get proud with their identity. Our children are our future, and we need to make our Africa a better place for them to live in and to be proud of. And this is what they need in life: roots to anchor and wings to fly. The roots are back home, and the wings are them here in New Zealand. So for all of you, happy Africa Day. God bless Africa. God bless you all.
A melting pot for different cultures and different influences, and Egypt was able to digest all the influences. So today I'll take you on a journey through all the directions, from northern influences on Egyptian culture and music, and also Eastern and Western. And I will save the rest for last. I'll show you the African influence on the Egyptian music, so enjoy it. So I'll start by the northern influence. So I'll play a piece. It's on a musical form called longa. Longa is an upbeat music, like quick and demanding on the player. So it's originating in the north, in Turkey and East Europe. So I hope you enjoy it. Hope I give it justice. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks so much. it shows the influence of both the Western and Eastern influences. So from the West, this is called Mwashah. Mwashah is a form of poetry, and it comes from the fusion of North African and Spanish music. And also in the same piece, you will see the Eastern influence, like Said Darwish in his early day was influenced by the Aleppo music of Syria. So, and this piece is very famous in Syria and sung by many musicians in Syria. So, hope you enjoy it. Thanks so much. It's made by a famous composer. His name is Hamza Din. He's a well-established musician. He's from Nubian origins, and he became a professor of ethnomusicology in different USA universities. So this song, he merged different Nubian songs for folklore, and he called it Hela Orise. Hela Orise means literally, "Oh Jesus." And this calling is being used even till today by both Muslim and non-Muslim when they want to summon destinies. So this is this piece is about love. And just it's a very nice music. So hope you enjoy it. Thank you for justice. Thanks so much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think this time tomorrow I'll probably be on my way to the airport. Having received a letter of recall from Pretoria because I have somehow been appointed as an High Commissioner of South Africa without the President's approval. I think I would blame Brother Omer here because he's the one who started and said he's the High Commissioner. I've been stayed the Charge d'Affaires, the High Commission. Your Excellency, Ambassador Dina Sakhi, Honorable MP Ibrahim Omer, the leadership of the New Zealand Police, our elders, the President of ACCW, the President of COFI from Auckland. It is a great honor and a privilege for me to stand before you tonight. I must say that from the beginning, gratitude to Brother Mohammed Dahi. For a minute there, I closed my eyes listening to his music, and I felt teleported. Found myself riding a camel on the desert of Sahara. I felt the African sun on my skin. I saw myself walking into a tent of Bedouins sipping Arabic coffee. I don't know how many of you today or tonight have had an experience of walking the Sahara Desert, of sipping coffee or Arabic tea in a Bedouin tent. It is true, Africa is indeed a beautiful country. I can only wish that those that have not been to the continent do make time in their busy lives to undertake their trip. I do know that one of us will in fact be traveling there very soon. Ruth Prentice has informed me that she has planned a trip and she will go into Africa. I encourage many others to join her. I've listened to our speakers and I ask myself, what else do I say to you tonight? I'm a diplomat, and as such, I'm required to choose my words when I speak. But when I speak to my countrymen or fellow Africans, I find it difficult to be diplomatic. It is true that on this day, we celebrate the formation of our organization, our continental body, the African Union. We are all aware of its history. It was formed in 1963 with one goal: to attain the integration and the unity of the continent. But I think the history that is often forgotten is that of a conversation that took place a few years, perhaps many years before 1963, when eventually our leaders met in Addis Ababa. A conversation between the leaders of what was then called the Casablanca Group and the Monrovia Group. The Casablanca Group, made up of countries such as Libya, Ghana, I think Egypt. Monrovia Group made of Nigeria and some of the Francophone countries, including Cameroon. Casablanca Group believed that it was important for Africa to be united. The question was how to attain this unity, or what form this unity had to take. They believed that African unity should be attained in the form of a federation of African states. The Monrovia Group spoke of a loose alliance based on a loose alliance of African states based on economic cooperation. So from that discussion, one thing that you take home is that unity has always been at the center of what Africa has always aspired for. Many years have passed. To this very day, we still speak of unity. Brother Omer posed the question, why is it that we don't have visa-free countries or free movement in Africa? In essence, he's asking, to this day, we speak of 60 years of African unity. To this day, why is it that the question of unity eludes Africa? I said to you that I will speak to you as an African and not as a diplomat. I call on each and every African tonight to conduct a bit of introspection. Ask yourself what your role is as an African in Natura, in New Zealand. Ask yourself what your contribution is as an African in the diaspora, in the US, in Europe, elsewhere else in the world. Unity is critical for the success of Africa. You listen to the AU's Anthem. It calls on us to make Africa the shield of life. It calls on us to strive and work towards unity. Are you, as Africans in New Zealand, united? I look with envy when I travel New Zealand, I see the Asian, Chinese, Korean, Indian communities. I look at it with envy. I look at their unity. I look at the achievements that they are making. I look at the contributions that they're making back at home. Your umbilical cords are buried in the motherland. Your roots are embedded in Africa, this African soil. We cannot forget Africa. You cannot forget Africa. You need to be united in New Zealand to have a voice. I have had a meeting with Brother Ibrahim in Parliament. We discussed the very issue of where does Africa feature in conversations in New Zealand. He said to me, much needs to be done for Africa to actually be taken note of. Who bears the responsibility to ensure that Africa is noted or is taken note of in New Zealand? Is it the Egyptian embassy? Is it the South African High Commission? No. Each one of us, each and every African in New Zealand has a responsibility to play. It starts, however, with unity. We have to have a unity of purpose. We have to have a common agenda. I call on our leadership tonight, Brother Kosam, Sister Evelyn, call on you. Pull together our people, have a common vision, ensure that the unity exists and prevails, ensure that each and every African's roots that are embedded in Africa do not die because of the drought that currently exists. Water the soil, nourish the soil. Make sure that each one of us do make that small but meaningful contribution in what happens in Africa. Our leaders have set clear goals, and I want to speak to one tonight: the silencing of the guns. We had hoped that by now that would have been attained. That still remains elusive. We are here. One of the young ladies, our beautiful directors of ceremonies tonight, spoke of how Africa is seen by the world through the eyes of world vision, or there's this one that always ticks me off when I watch it on TV. It presents Africa as conflict-ridden, impoverished. It is our duty. That narrative can only change through us. Play that role. But to do that, we must be united. To do that, we need to have these conversations. Let us be clear and put our differences aside. Unity remains elusive in the continent. We here in New Zealand, we should not fall victim to the same challenges. Let us make Africa the tree of life. African keys. You have a role to play. The young speak of 1963 as the formation of the Organization of African Union. I do not think that perhaps they knew before tonight that our great leaders met in '61 to put together, to share ideas of how united or how Africa could come together as an entity, as a united entity. You have a role to play. I have spoken to you as an African. I call on you again, do that introspection. Let us have that conversation. Let us not forget where we come from. Africa remains your home. Africa is my home. Let us still hold it close to heart, always. I thank you.
Saya my 5 minutes. Good. Kia ora koutou, ko Jane Patterson aho. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, katoa. What a privilege to be here tonight in this beautiful, iconic building and among so much colour and vibrancy of this wonderful community that I'm feeling more and more close to every week that I get to meet you all. So I'm so pleased because for a couple of the speakers that we've heard, we've heard about unity and the importance of it. And so while I get to speak about football and the FIFA Women's World Cup, one thing that we do know about sport is that sports changes lives, and large sporting events like the FIFA Women's World Cup has the opportunity to unify the world. And so it is a great privilege for me to be able to just share with you, as part of this community, just a little bit about the FIFA Women's World Cup, which is all but on our doorstep, because this is the biggest female sporting event in the world, and it kicks off in 42 days. So, I'm going to get really, really tired in about 42 days. But through this event, we are so pleased to be welcoming 32 competing nations for the FIFA Women's World Cup, to both Aotearoa New Zealand and also to Australia. But 4 of the competing teams are from Africa. The FIFA Women's World Cup is something that we want everybody in this room to be a part of. It is a tournament of firsts, is what we say. So, let me share with you some of the firsts. It is the first time that 32 teams will compete for the coveted trophy. It's the first time it has been played across 2 countries and 2 football confederations, Asia and Oceania. There will be 8 debutante teams competing for the first time, and it's also the first time in the Southern Hemisphere. So there is much to celebrate. All of our teams, our visitors, our fans, our communities, our sponsors, and our media will be welcomed to this beautiful country that we live in, and we will pull out all the stops to ensure that they experience the manaakitanga with which this country is world renowned. It's part of our commitment as tournament hosts to ensure that all who reside in our nations are aware of this tournament and its inclusive nature. We are immensely proud of our multicultural communities and the way that all of you and other communities enrich our lives. The FIFA Women's World Cup is an unbelievably unique opportunity to showcase that diversity to the world. And let me give you a number around what that opportunity really is. In the FIFA Women's World Cup in 2019, when it was played in France, just over 1 billion people worldwide watched that event. 4 years later, we're estimating a massive global audience of nearly 2 billion people to have their eyes on the FIFA Women's World Cup in Aotearoa, New Zealand and Australia. That is a lot of eyeballs. That's a lot of people looking at our beautiful country and experiencing our beautiful people and our wonderful communities. We're delighted that among those teams that are coming, 4 African nations will take the world stage. Morocco, Nigeria, Zambia, sorry. I apologise. Zambia and South Africa. As part of our commitment to engage all of those communities, we are very proud to have formed a FIFA Women's World Cup multicultural fan engagement program, which includes 150 community champions from more than 30 different backgrounds. So can I encourage each of you to reach out to your networks and become involved and get everybody involved and get to the games and support your favourite teams, support those that are performing at their best on the world stage. Our tournament will be richer for your involvement and the involvement of that of your communities. We think, we've spoken about women and some of the speakers have been speaking about the role of women. We think that it will be transformational for young girls to see women who look just like themselves performing on the world stage. And you may or may not be familiar with the slogan for this Women's World Cup, which is Beyond Greatness. We don't want that to be just any old catchy phrase. For us, at the FIFA Women's World Cup, we want everyone to feel that they can experience this Women's World Cup for themselves. We want to go beyond the football tournament and tap into the cultural aspects of the event. Because beyond greatness brings people together. It's wearing our national colours while supporting and recognising each other with respect and with compassion. So beyond greatness is being part of something bigger. Now, 2 countries, and on the New Zealand side of the draw, there will be 2 African nations competing. Anyone here from South Africa? Come on. Group is in Group G, and there are 2 matches being played right here in Wellington, Te Whanganui Tara, and 1 all the way down south in Dunedin. So I hope you bought your tickets to the Wellington matches, or that you might want to head down south to the matches down there. And for Zambia, the Queens, they'll be competing in Group C of the tournament, with 1 game in Eden Park and 2 in Hamilton, Kirikiriroa. And we know that right now, New Zealand, times are not easy in New Zealand. We talked a little bit about the cost of living, inflation. Times are tough. And we wanted to make sure that this event was accessible to everyone. And so we priced it accordingly. So I just wanted to share with you that the cost of a ticket for a child is $10, and for adults from $20. So by my calculations, 2 adults, 2 children, $60 to see the world's best female football players do what they do. And I can tell you, that's cheaper than going to the movies. And you get to see live sport. So please, make sure that you join this party, this celebration that kicks off on the 20th of July. Support your African teams, and let's make this tournament truly global and truly inclusive. Thank you so much for the invitation to speak. It's my privilege and honour to be here, and to also wish you warm wishes for your Africa celebrations. And I look forward to celebrating with you to make the FIFA Women's World Cup the most memorable and the most impacting women's football tournament that the world has ever seen. So thank you, ngā mihi nui, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you so much, Jane. Can I just check the room? Who else is really passionate about women in sport?
Kia ora koutou. I do whakapapa to the Hawke's Bay as far as New Zealand is concerned. So there is Ngāti Kamunu in the room, but originally from Nigeria. Do I need to hold this? Okay, I'll just, good. And I'll just be a little petty and say hi to my Nigerian whānau in our own colloquial and informal way, and just say, how una dey? Neighbor and just echo that, just say how you did. And it is quite, well, I'm glad to be here and honored, and I want to just acknowledge and recognize the dignitaries present, MP Ibrahim Omer, senior members and dignitaries of the diplomatic corps, the police and other members of parliament, and the VIPs who are Africans and friends of Africa. So it's a delight to be here, and I do have 5 minutes as well, so I don't have. I do have the advantage of coming this late in the meeting or the event, because I can echo what has been said and still sound very deep while I'm at it. I just have a couple of questions that do flow on from some of the things we've discussed. And there are thoughts that I have shared from time to time across different platforms and with different friends and family. And I'll start off from what MP Omer mentioned, just around the representation of Africa, even in New Zealand statistics. If you've completed any form or application as far as a government agency in New Zealand is concerned, recently the census was done. How is Africa on the list, and South Africa on the list, and Zimbabwe on the same list? And you have Egypt, you have a couple of specific nations on the list of countries, or ethnicity rather, not countries. And it skews the data, because if all those nations were to first identify their ethnic origin as Africa, then we'll start to have a single view of how largely represented in New Zealand Africa is. And that might start to move the conversation towards other forms of recognition, up to the point of visa waivers and what have you. I want to acknowledge the work done by the communities and the leadership of our ethnic and African communities, those that have gone or come before us, and those who are carrying on that baton now. I want to acknowledge ACOFI, ACCW, and that effort to unify all the endeavors that are happening across the Mutu as far as advancing the cause of Africa and Africans in New Zealand. That unity is critical. That unity holds the key to the future, I reckon. And my apologies if I'm not talking about that. I wasn't told it was about my story, so I just came with the African discourse. We have to own our narrative. We have to own the stories that are told about us. And one of the groups that have recently come together and is informing some of the research happening, I want to acknowledge as well, Ethnic Research, Aotearoa, and all the intelligent and well-versed leaders and individuals that are contributing to that conversation. New Zealand has to hear about Africa from Africans, and not World Vision, as my sister has said. Not only World Vision, I do support World Vision and charity, but it's important that we tell the story not just of our successes, but the journey of how we got to here. Having worked with the Office of Ethnic Communities, now Ministry for Ethnic Communities, I believe advocacy has to have a multifocal angle to it. you can lose a lot of your audience when you focus only on what's wrong. We've been here decades now, and we have come a long way, and some of that has to be acknowledged. We have to look at today and pinpoint the points of pain or areas of concern or issues that need to be moved down that journey to not just acceptance in New Zealand, but also connection for our people. So you look at yesterday and where you're coming from, you look at today, how far you have come, and then you cast that vision for the next 60 years. I have a 7-year-old who welcomes me almost every night with some new variant of a question about Africa. And it takes only one generation to get disconnected. So we must insist or ensure that we connect Tamariki, not just through platforms like this, but obviously the first-hand experience of the motherland, but also I believe in entrepreneurial investment. I believe we must stop pursuing a personal mission only. As migrants, there's the tendency to obviously want to succeed, want to be seen to succeed, but there's a next step after that, which is to think about Africa, which will be 25% of the global population in 2050. In 2022, about 3.3 billion US dollars was invested in African tech startups in Africa, and that number increases annually. I think we might be, or we might have the possibility, negatively so, of being disconnected from the Africa that is being built in our absence. And to insist or to ensure we're part of that contribution or conversation, we need to start thinking here in New Zealand, not seeking permission to exceed our benchmarks or to succeed, but to stand up and just take the challenge on with our drive for excellence. I can sense the eyes, and every step is loud, as they act, towards me. But I hope with those questions, what is New Zealand for Africans in 2050? What opportunities will be availed, my children and your grandchildren, as Africans in New Zealand in 20, 30, 40 years? That's where we need to direct some of the conversations happening now, and then stand up to support the community leadership and also advance personal missions, like there was mention of EcoCabs. There's those in the private sector, public sector, non-profit sector, and I'll take my seat. Thank you very much for your time.
For those of you who are expecting to see, that's all right. So, just this good? Yes. So, just as an introduction, I'm Partha, and I've been in New Zealand for 35 years, and we had an opportunity in 2015 to establish a medical center in Rwanda. So that was an opportunity that I couldn't say no. And at that point, the only Rwanda we all knew, as many people talk about the natives, the only Rwanda we all knew was about the good side is the silverback gorillas, and the other side was genocide that happened in '94. I was saying, okay, Rwanda, why would I go to Rwanda? So you can see it here, I'm very conscious of the 5 minutes we have. So I'm here now to give you a very, very pleasant experience we had being entrepreneurs, businessmen, trying to go to Rwanda. My wife and I decided that we would invest in Rwanda and create a hospital there and a medical center that we set up. Before starting that, I looked at the World Economic Forum report on Rwanda because I wanted to know what the country is. The 2015 one said Rwanda is the 7th most efficient, as said we left on this slide, and 6th was New Zealand. So who in the hell would have thought a country like Rwanda, a small country in Africa, would be 7th in the world. So there is a lot of positives that can be, that need to be and that should be spoken about Africa. And I think depending on others is not the right way. Each of us needs to make an effort to put it across. These days, WhatsApp, YouTube, the channels available. You don't need to go to the main media all the time. So there is huge opportunity for all the youngsters to tune there. And by the way, I'm a Kuru. Anyone else here? Rwandese? And I've been to Goma, so I made sure that the boats won't come and stare at me anymore. So coming back to the next slide, please. So we set ourselves a mission to create a medical center, okay, and leave a legacy. So our objective here was that we were very blessed. My wife and I said, we came here, our kids grew up here, and they were born here, grew up here, and they have their own what you call dreams now. One is in Canada, one is in Australia. So we said we should do something. We shouldn't wait for a day when we think we haven't done anything. So that's when this opportunity came. We both went to Rwanda, settled there, and we set up our vision and mission to create one which is world standard. Okay? And there is a book by Dr. Prahlad, which says fortune at the bottom of the pyramid. And that book says right from day one, when you're putting technology or when you're putting any instrumentation, try to put the latest one. Don't send a Lada. Okay? Don't send a old car. Try to bring the best. Because there are two sides to it. One is giving the respect what every patient deserves. That's first thing. Second thing is, economically, it's much easier to manage brand new equipment. So it is a misplaced economy to take a second-hand equipment or refurbish it. So we have, I'm very proud to say that we started off to create something and we ended up creating an institution. And those of you, and I'll go to the next slide. You may notice on the slides that on one side I have the flag of Africa, on one Rwanda. In the other slides I have legacy clinics. The reason is, what is important here is not about legacy clinics. It's about Africa and it's about Rwanda and about Kigali that I've been personally experiencing. I can tell you, in Rwanda, corruption and compromise are seen as cancer to the development. And it's not just the words, it means. I haven't had one person ask me any kind of bribes or anything at all. When I went there, and it's all here, there is Rwanda's Development Board, RDB. When I said I'm going to start something, all I had to do was, they gave me an appointment, I sat down in my chair, and if I tell you this, you may think it's, I'm making up stories. Okay? We had immigration representative come and tell us what it takes to bring people here. We had banks come and present as to how they would work with us. We had the Human Resources Ministry come and talk to us and talk about gender equality, which is very big in Rwanda. And every one of them has taken turn. I was in the same place, giving me everything that I need to know. And to set up the company, register the company and set it up, it took me 1 day. I'm not going to read these. Many people talk about African Union recent summit that happened, and that was in Kigali. And for a country that small, to be hosting children and AU, must be very proud of it. Yeah, I'm very proud of it. I'm an honorary citizen of Rwanda. May I have the next slide? So this is the clinic. We set it up, and you can see all the people here, and there as well. And our objective was to be in the background. We are not here to, I think I've lived my life, and it is the young generation that needs to pick this up. And on the ground floor, we have all the imaging, CT, X-rays, mammography, everything. It's a very well set up. And on the first floor, we have all of the medical specialties, and on the top floor is pathology and that dental care. And I tell every doctor when I interview them and when I talk to them, the top floor and bottom floor are there to support him, but I don't expect him or her. I don't expect them to support the top and the bottom floor. What I mean is, please don't write any tests that we don't need. Okay. So it is not about making money by writing tests, but it's about looking at the patients and seeing what they need. May I go to the next slide? Okay. Again, I want to roll this flag there because what I found very, very interesting is I don't know how many of you have seen this, but there's something called Umuganda. And what is relevant here for all of us here is Umuganda is on a Saturday, or the first Saturday of every month, from morning up to probably midday. No vehicles are allowed to be on the road because everyone is supposed to work in their communities, in their residential community, helping others, or any common projects within that community. It could be, cleaning up some elderly's house, or it could be the footpaths, or taking out weeds, or whatever. So I found Umuganda to be such a unifying aspect that is being institutionalized in that part of the world. I think it's something that even here in this community, if you have regular events where you have an objective and where you have an outcome, then that can bring everyone together. More than, every country together within Africa. The next thing which I wanted to say was also I won't talk about the charter here, but clean. When I was building this, by the way, this building was warehouse. So I had to go there and start building from scratch. And I had all the people, the builders and everyone else, construction workers, everyone working with us. And there, when it rains, it buckets down. So when it was raining, I was sitting there. I couldn't see one cigarette butt or anything in the water. It's such a clean country. And the cleanliness, we talk about clean and green New Zealand. I think people need to go to the water to see. It's very safe country. Extremely safe country. It's so unbelievable if I tell you this, because I had a car that failed at 2 a.m. in the morning. And one would have expected what I do now. We had all these motors come in, these are scooter taxis, they all came and said, you can help. And they knew where we lived. So they took us there, and the next day the car was sent off to a workshop, and it was amazing, 2 o'clock in the morning. Next slide, please. 2 minutes. Okay, I just wanted to let you know that after the next slide also, please. So this is the opening ceremony, and as you can see, the people and the pride they have, and even today, that was on day 1. They're all colorful, they're all bright. Even today, they're very, very bright. And we have won international awards in New York, and also we won the best customer service for a hospital. Can you believe it? And coming to the next slide, please. Yeah. I won't go there. Next one. There are the awards here. Next one. And this is today. Today we are an institution with 175 staff. And we have 50 specialists, and specialists come from Egypt, Congo, and Kenya, Nigeria, everywhere. And we have about 500 patients, in excess of 500 patients each day. And all the money we make is going back into the hospital. So it's an institution doing very well, and we are now building a hospital next year. Thank you so much.
For welcoming us to this house and for putting up such a wonderful gathering and amazing speakers. So I'm going to just keep this a little bit lighter, and I'm also going to try to only do 3 minutes. Will that work? Let's try. Anyway, first of all, thank you very much for showing the video about the beauty of Africa. What I could see there was that we've got it all. We've got everything that's in New Zealand. There's snow, there's waterfalls, there's oceans, there's beaches. New Zealand hasn't got everything that we've got, right? But thank you, New Zealand, for opening the door, to allowing us to be colorful, for allowing us to be able to be on this journey of changing the narrative. And we are doing so. Brother Edgar, thank you so much for your speech, because I did a little bit of checking and go, what is it that we're actually doing about this thing called unity? How are we moving forward? And it just occurred to me that we are actually on the move to changing a lot of things. And already, as I speak to you, I don't know if any of you from here came to Auckland 2 weeks ago. I know somebody who's already stood here and spoken who was at the event we had in Auckland. Jan Patterson. We are showing New Zealand that we are ready to change the narrative. Unity is on the move, and we are participating because we are allowing our youth, the creative, we are allowing our specialists, we are allowing our leaders, and most importantly this year, because of the FIFA World Cup, we've got a lot of young women that are super excited about the World Cup, and we are already beginning to do programs to continue the legacy of getting the young women into sports. So what else are we doing about this unity in New Zealand? As leaders of different regions in New Zealand, the African community, which constitutes of Auckland, Hamilton, Wellington, Canterbury. This morning, I'm not an early riser, but I was forced to get out of bed at 5 o'clock to be at the airport. I get here by 8:40. Why? Because we got together to discuss how we are going to lead our community as one entity. And we've established that in addition to the regional leaders, we need a national body. And together we have agreed on the terms of reference. Yes, we've drafted it, but we are moving together. In addition, we have put together a national strategy. Again, we came together to discuss how, by holding each other's hands, we're going to make sure we actually implement and achieve the outcomes from that national strategy. So unity is not just the word we are no longer playing with, we are being active in taking steps to remain united for the sake of our tamariki, for the future of New Zealand. And yes, we'll change the narrative, and we want to tell our own story. We are on this journey to keep our culture alive through our own languages, to keep our personalities, as different as they may be, on the move. And we are recognizing people that have come before us. organizations like ACOFI didn't just happen. There are people like, and I'm going to call out his name, Brother Ubaka, because it is important that we don't just claim that we are here as if Harry Potter just struck his wand and this happened, right? They were people with vision prior to us, like the Kwame Nkrumahs of yesterday in the 1963 and the Mandelas that came together and thought about uniting Africa. People that first arrived on this land dreamed of how we're going to be to move together, how we're going to hold each other's hands, and people like Brother Bubaka are amongst those. And in the same breath, I'd like to recognize Elder Gregory Fortune. Some of us claim he's our uncle, some of us claim he's our granddad, whatever. Again, people that are walking with us in the journey of preserving unity, collaboration, recognition, and Brother Rakesh, your name cannot go unmentioned at this point. Because it is through Brother Rakesh that I have come to be buddies with certain people at FIFA. And I really appreciate that, because without these relationships, outcomes such as what we achieved in Auckland in celebrating Africa Day, and even this, and indeed more activities that are going to come in July when the teams arrive, would not happen. So thank you very much, and a really special thank you to our MCs. And I'm just going to end on next year, you are all coming to Auckland. You are all coming to Auckland, a bigger, united party. So thank you very much. God bless you all.
May you please warn me when they are coming to us. First of all, thank you so much for coming tonight. I know you've made a lot of sacrifices in terms of time. And some of you have flown from all over to come to this moment. It is not the speeches that matter, but the coming together. And that is the part of the unity that has been talked about from the start. I won't go back to talk about unity because it's been talked about already. It's already happening in Africa, and very soon we're going to see one big united Africa. That's something that everybody will be doing. I'm sure some of you, if not all of you, have heard of Kwame Nkrumah's speech about one united Africa. So this is happening now, and we're also having a parallel kind of unity within New Zealand for all Africans, which my sister Evelyn has already alluded to. We're working together to get that happen. So as Africa is getting united, the question is New Zealand getting prepared for a united Africa? Or will they continue to look at Africa as different countries where these country requirements are different from the other one? Because in this case, the whole of Africa will be just one big continent. So get ready for Africa, New Zealand. Right. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is about being visible. So if my team can come up with it. Being visible. So being visible does not mean that you need to lighten your skin so that people can see you. Being visible is actually looking at yourself from the eyes of the people who see you. When people see you, what do they see? Who do they see? What have you done to make them see you? And what are you doing to make them see you? So as we talk about unity, what part are you going to play in uniting people or getting yourself as part of the vehicle to get everybody else united? So make sure that you become visible. We're talking about visibility. Where's my team? Come. Right. So I had an amazing team in terms of coming up with this event that we have. More often than not, we don't get to see the people behind the scenes, people who have made this event possible. So I'm just going to introduce each of them and just saying what they have done. I will start with the sister who is not with us this evening because she had a headache. And maybe it's because we kept her up at night trying to figure out what sort of food we're going to eat today. But she said the apologies. She would have loved to be here. Sister Mangala, a big applause. And of course, we had help from Sister Dina, who sort of introduced us to the wonderful Egyptian Catholics. And we've got Brother Judah here, whom I recall saying we need a plan B for the performance, Brother Judah. And that was because invariably some of the performers bail out at the last minute. And he was the plan B, so he's already elected plan B. Put all the performances together. Then we've got the lovely Sister Kevin, who went with Brother Wallace in terms of getting the guest list together. So all of you here were invited to these two here. And we've got two lovely ladies who have kept us entertained all night. I remember asking them, are your voices okay? Please don't drink anything that will sort of because you are going to be our voice tonight. And I think they've proven that. A big applause. Right. And lastly, I read somewhere that there is an overwhelming kind of scientific research that says all modern people come from Africa. So if you identify yourself as a modern person, you are African.
There was one person who didn't stand up.
But Doing a great job, I'm on video. Oh my God.